We're entering an era in which our enemies can make it look like anyone is saying anything at any point in time, even if they would never say those things. So, for instance, they could have me say things like, I don't know, Killmonger was right.
So that may have looked and sounded like former President Barack Obama, but that was actually a fake video. It was voiced by actor and director Jordan Peele, and since that video was released in 2018, what's known as deepfake technology has only improved, making the spread of misinformation so much easier.
This is a dangerous time. Moving forward, we need to be more vigilant with what we trust from the internet. That's a time when we need to rely on trusted news sources.
Well, just last week, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi went viral after being targeted in a series of doctored videos. Each of the clips were slowed down to make the Congresswoman sound intoxicated. And now, as we get closer to the 2020 presidential elections, candidates and their teams are struggling to understand the best way to handle the threat of deep fakes. So joining me now, CNET senior producer Dan Patterson. Okay, so we get it. We know deep fakes are these kind of phony videos. First off, if you're on the net, which all of us are, how do you tell the difference, and who's putting these out there?
Rena, this morning I spoke with an expert in artificial intelligence and asked this same question, thinking the scientists will have the answers. There are no answers right now. What we are seeing is the proliferation of technology that was just a few years ago incredibly expensive and processor expensive. By that I mean it's not just expensive to buy or own the chips, it means it takes a lot of time and energy for those chips to do their work. Now you can do the same thing with a regular MacBook. So this technology is spreading so quickly and is in the hands of so many different actors that it's hard to tell the difference between a quality deepfake, a bad deepfake, and the real deal.
So, I mean, obviously the big concern is elections coming up, right? If I'm a head of a campaign, how do I counter what could potentially really affect my candidate?
Well, we're in conversation with campaigns right now, and the biggest thing that deepfakes cut into with political campaigns, the same thing that fake news cuts into, and that is trust.
Yeah.
Really, the asset that all candidates try to campaign on is their ability to connect with voters and have them be trusted or have their message be something that is relied on. And what deepfakes do is undermine our faith and confidence in. Usually in cyber we talk about institutions. In this case, it is personalities.
Personalities. So, you know, there are some people, we've seen celebrities do this, where they said, oh, that wasn't me, that wasn't me. We've gotten to the point where people, you know, you can't deny an authentic video. But you've got some of that out there. So how do you tell the truth from what reality is and what it isn't?
Well, we have some forensic evidence, so we are able to look at the metadata of videos and photos. So if you've ever used an iPhone photo and edited it, in the background you're able to see the date and time it was shot. So we can look at some of that forensic data, but the real challenge here is that a lot of that information is pretty easy to fake as well. You can just open that information, that file, in an editor and fake the metadata as well. So the challenge that we're going to see going forward is that these videos could be seeded because it's so inexpensive and affordable to do this. These videos could be seeded in ways that are not necessarily sanctioned by a campaign, but might come from a supporter or somebody who has an affinity for you and just don't follow the rules of the road.
Right, right. So what about social networks? I mean, don't they have a responsibility to take these down and be more vigilant?
Well, we did ask Facebook.
Yeah. I mean, the Nancy Pelosi one is still out there, is my understanding, no?
And it is still unclear as to why Facebook left that up for so long. To be fair, when we speak with social networks, they have the same challenges with what we call attribution, figuring out is this authentic and if it's not, where did it come from? And they have a really hard time defining what is real, what is fake, and even though you say this is fake, maybe somebody on the other side says it's not. So these massive platforms kind of have massive challenges with figuring out the authenticity of content.
Dan Patterson, thanks for joining us, Dan.